kids diagnosed with Asperger's ends up being adults with Asperger's. And that defutes the misnomer that Asperger's ends in childhood. I don't know where that came from. To this day, I don't really know where that disconnect came from. Because you always have Asperger's. There's no way, there's no cure. Employers will be educated enough and that we wouldn't need to provide services anymore to help people on the spectrum because they'll be so mainstreamed and they will be the new normal.
Putting autism to work is what we call ourselves, and what that means is that we want to educate employers about the value of people with Asperger's, and we also want to find jobs for people.
A fantasy job would be to simply work in an engineering lab where we work with a whole bunch of other engineers, and where my job would be just simply to put circuits together, test them, and also build prototype electronic or robotic equipment.
People with Asperger's are on the high end of the autism spectrum, and they look like everybody else, and they have skill sets that are either the same as normal people or higher, and because of that, it's very difficult for people to accept them as being disabled until they go to their interview or something happens at the working place or something like that. And this is why they have such great difficulty in finding appropriate employment.
I would apply for jobs, and my first interview I always felt went well. Either I didn't get called back for a second interview, or at the second interview something happens or I meet with somebody or people interviewing me who would be part of my team, and maybe somebody feels that I'm odd and wouldn't be a right fit for their team.
I was always mostly keeping to myself, and I had a lot of interests were highly unusual in that I was a prolific reader, and the stuff I'd like to read wasn't so much children's stories, but it was stuff like about science, engineering, and stuff about history.
With other fields, in the medical field, the police departments. A lot of the police departments don't have training how to handle people on the spectrum, especially high-functioning people on the spectrum.
And a lot of people with Asperger's are highly educated, very bright people, not necessarily geniuses, although that has been also said about people with Asperger's, because Einstein is always brought up as an example that he had Asperger's.
I think the number one thing is education.
People think that Bill Gates is also another person who has Asperger's, but you have ordinary people with Asperger's. So if the minute that you say that these people are on the autism spectrum, then often they're expected not to be able to perform at any job because autism, Rain Man and all that, or they're expected to be super, 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 super brilliant. And most people with Asperger's fall into the category that most of us fall into. So they're neither the most brilliant people nor the down in the basement kind of. So so that's very difficult for them to find their niche in the working place.
My own was a rather unusual interests and behaviors was a natural magnet for every single bully in the classroom and on the playground.
Here's an interesting thing. What is normal? That's a real good question. What is normal? And the definition is so broad. What normal is to people who are on the outside world, who are supposedly, quote unquote, neurotypical, think we're all odd, that they don't know how to handle us, don't know how to talk to us, they don't know how to deal with us because we are so different. And they feel different is bad, but is different really bad? No.